Tenshinhan made his debut in chapter 113 of the original manga. He was the star pupil of Surusenin, rival to Kame-senin. Now, at the time, Tenshinhan's ambitions were basically to become a great assassin like his master's brother, Tao Pai Pai. Not much is known about his backstory, even in the manga. Of course, though, his name, being a typical Toriyama pun, derives from the Chinese-inspired Japanese dish Tenshinhan. Now, as for his origins, there is some information in the Daizenshu that basically says he is a member of the Mitsume Jin, or the Triclops. And according to Toriyama himself, his time with Surusenin, basically being with someone so evil, made him lose these powers, leaving him just mortal, a human being. However, let's talk about the Daizenshu. Now, there are two types of people out there when it comes to fan bases. The people who know what the Daizenshu is and think it's like the be-all, end-all, like it's the Bible of Dragon Ball. And then there are the others who have no idea what I'm talking about right now. So let's talk about it. Daizenshu are essentially like encyclopedias. I actually have some here somewhere. I believe they're on one of my shelves. But they are good because they do give a lot of information. Now, a majority, I would say a good chunk of these books is all the stuff you can find in the manga anyway. So it's not like something you didn't know per se. However, you will get sprinkles of information. But a lot of this information, to be clear, comes from just interviews with Toriyama or people who work behind the scenes. And that means a lot of the stuff is mostly planned story elements, things that we're going to do, like the whole, Triclops thing that was never done. It was what they were going to do, and he decided not to use that story element for, Tenshinhan, to leave it out. So just realize that the Daizenshu can be a good resource, but please don't consider like everything in those books canon. That's not how it works.
消えろ、ぶっ飛ばされんうちにな。
威勢だけは一人前だが、さっきの試合、相手の急所を1センチ外していたぞ。
わざと外したのさ。俺は人殺しにはなりたくないからな。もっとも、貴様のようなやつを相手にするときは容赦せんな。
At the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, upon meeting Goku and his friends, he learns that they are the students of his master's rival, Kame-senin. He and Chiaotzu immediately begin talking trash. This sets him up, of course, as the main antagonist of this mini story arc. Thanks to Chiaotzu's help, his first match is against Yamcha. At first, he's quite surprised by Yamcha's strength after his master had told him how weak Kame-senin's school was. But in the end, Yamcha was no match for him. Given their little rivalry established, he decides to end the match by breaking Yamcha's leg, further going down the path of the dark side to appease his master. However, despite his ill manners, there is one who saw through this charade, and that of course is Kame-senin. Both he and Chiaotzu were not inherently evil per se. They both wanted to impress their master as any students would. Now, that being said, they were both willing to go down a path that was wrong because they never had anyone to show them the right path. His match with Kame-senin, if you've watched my very old deep dive on Kame-senin, is one of my favorite matches for a reason. I personally feel, you can disagree if you want, that Kame-senin could have won that match. Not with ease, but he could have won if he kept fighting. Why did he forfeit the match? Because he knew it would stir up confusion within Tenshinhan, and that's what he wanted. Leaving him to face off against Goku in the next match, hoping that Goku's good nature would rub off on him. Kame-senin chose to help Tenshinhan as opposed to just defeating him, which would have left him in darkness. Again, why I love Kame-senin so much. In the finals, he and Goku have an epic back and forth match. Halfway into the match, he finally sees his master for who he truly is, when he tells Tien to kill Goku, even if it means forfeiting the match. He refuses, and Surusenin threatens to kill Chiaotzu. Kame-senin sends him flying, and Tenshinhan tells Goku he wishes to continue the match, having fully turned against his master's ways. The rest of the match is now between two martial artists, and in the end, Tenshinhan gets the win. To his surprise, the people are cheering for him and chanting his name. Kame-sennin tells him that he has moved the hearts of the people here, and he has taken his first step onto the right path. Tenshinhan becomes a key player in the Piccolo Daimao arc. However, it is here that we actually get the character being shoved aside. He is no match for Piccolo, nor is anybody else for that matter. Goku receives special training yet again, and is now leagues ahead of Tenshinhan. No big deal, more story to come, right? Well, we then get to the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. Goku and Tenshinhan have a rematch. And this is where Toriyama makes it abundantly clear that Tenshinhan will never be Goku's equal again. Goku easily defeats him, leaving the once rival far behind in the dust. So would this be the end of the character? After Raditz warns of the arrival of two more Saiyans, Kami-sama takes it upon himself to train Earth's mightiest heroes. This does elevate Tenshinhan far beyond where we left him, as it does for everybody else. We see that Tenshinhan, Kuririn, Yamcha, and even Chaozu are far stronger than Raditz was, which would make them in fact stronger than Goku and Piccolo were at that time. Fans were thinking the humans were back in the game. Then Nappa entered the fight. If there was any single character that began putting the nail in the coffin for the humans, it was Nappa. After he decimates the Z-Warriors, Goku comes along and makes Nappa look like a joke, leaving the gap between Goku and the humans ridiculously huge. Now, you might say, well, wait, what about Piccolo? Piccolo got his ass kicked and then he comes back ridiculously stronger. But yeah, don't forget, it's established here, Piccolo was an alien. And that leads us to this next point, which is very important. It was in this story arc where Toriyama decided to take a huge departure from where the story began. Dragon Ball, of course, began inspired by Journey to the West, Chinese folklore. However, now things were getting more inspired by Superman, very much so, origins and all, Goku being an alien from a race that died out. So what that meant was power levels were going to get higher, crazier. Battles were going to go from, instead of grounded martial arts, to more flying around superhero-like battles. Toriyama willingly sidelined all of these characters. So whether or not you agree is purely subjective, but the fact of the matter is the creator himself decided Tenshinhan, Kuririn, and all these guys were now supporting characters only and never to be important again. They sometimes will come in, help out a little, and then they'll sit back on the sidelines while the main players do their thing.
悟空と同じ修行をしたんではあいつを超えることはできん。修行のポイントだけを掴んで独自に技を磨くしかあるまい。
Now, during the Namek Saga, we do get a pointless scene that's in both the manga and the anime, and that is, of course, Tenshinhan, Chaozu, and Yamcha and Piccolo are training with Kaio-sama. Why do I say this is pointless? Because we think, oh my god, this is going to put them, elevate them to really strong powers again. But obviously anyone who watches and knows after this story arc, androids and things like that, they do nothing. So therefore the power-ups they receive here did nothing. Now, of course, there is filler in the anime. In the anime, there's a moment where after the Ginyu Force had been killed, of course, minus, Captain Ginyu himself, Kaio-sama kind of gets this whole special arrangement where he brings their spirits to his planet for them to spar against his now trained warriors. And they easily defeat the Ginyu Force. Of course, any fan watching this would be like, holy crap, now they're ridiculously strong. Yamcha and everyone went from like power levels around 1,000-ish or so, and now they're easily around over 60k because the Ginyu Force were around 60k each. So it's like, how the hell did they get that strong in such a short amount of time? Goku didn't get that strong with Kaio-sama. So it's like, that's because they didn't. Please understand that anime and manga are not the same thing. That's a filler scene, and it's just meant to be fun and silly, and also, give them something to do, which filler scenes often do. In the manga, they just have that moment where Goku says hi to them, and that's it. So they are there in the manga training with Kaio-sama. That legit exists, but they never fight the Ginyu Force, so that just never happens. The final nail in the coffin would be Super Saiyan, for me, anyway. Super Saiyan basically took Goku and put him to just stupid-like powers. And, the power levels themselves were getting stupid at this point. Frieza's second form's over 1 million. Then he goes third form, and then fourth form. Then how, at that point, it's just insane. And then Super Saiyan surpasses that. So it's like, yeah, at this point, if Tenshinhan, let's say, did fight the Ginyu Force, if that filler scene were real, that would mean Tenshinhan's about 60K, 60K to a millions actually. So yeah, at this point, it was just getting silly, and poor Tenshinhan would just be done at this point.
ちょっとまさか天津飯までその気になったんじゃ。
このまま何もしないで死を待つというのは俺の性分じゃないんでな。
それが武道家の誇りと言いたいんだろう。
そうだ。ダメでもともとそれでも前向きでいたい。
Tenshinhan's final supporting role is in the Android and Cell saga. Now, yeah, I know you might be saying, what about Boost Saga? But just hear me out here. This is where he actually tries to be a player, is what I mean. In the Boost Saga, he has that one moment he comes and he helps out just like a brief moment, and that's it. That's as far as he goes. Here, he's there from the beginning to the end of the Cell story, the Android Cell story. He's right there at the beginning when they go to see the androids. He's there at the Cell games. So he is there throughout the entire thing. His main moment to shine, of course, comes from when he's able to hold back Cell in his second form with his Shinki Koho, or his, newly improved Tri-Beam. And, that is a huge help because he stops Cell from absorbing 18 and stalls them a bit, so that they can try, Vegeta can get there, Trunks can get there. Obviously, it doesn't help that much in the end, but, because he gets there anyway. But the point is, he does have this nice moment to shine. Cell games, he's sidelined. But you can't be upset. Vegeta was sidelined in the Cell games. I mean, everybody's sidelined in the Cell games except for Goku and Gohan. So, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much Toriyama gives all these side characters one last hurrah in this story arc. And I think I might have said the same thing for like Yamcha and even Krillin, that, I did deep dives on them as well. And this is their last. Like, this is the last story arc where they are key players. Krillin, of course, being there from the beginning of the series, he's kind of there to the end, not including Super as much, but like in the Buu Saga, Krillin does have a larger role than the other supporting characters. But Tenshinhan, this is it. And Toriyama even goes further to give Tenshinhan a farewell, where he basically, at the end of the Cell games, Gohan wins, and he's like, probably never see each other again. He's like, I'm taking shots and we're leaving. And that's Toriyama's way of saying this character's end. Now, of course, not including the fact that this was possibly supposed to be the end of the series. The point is this was the end of Tenshinhan, and this was his goodbye. Now, Buu Saga rolls around, and of course, please understand that the Buu Saga was something that wasn't originally planned for the story, so therefore, Toriyama wanted to kind of give one last thing for everybody to do. So yeah, he brings back Tenshinhan in one brief moment at the end, and he gets to help out one more time, and it's cool. I like it. It's fine. Seeing Tenshinhan is always cool. After that, that was it, Goku and Vegeta, they finished the fight, primarily Goku, and yeah. One of the defining attributes of Tenshinhan is his deep friendship with Chaozu. While in the manga we're never given the reason behind their bond, the third non-canon film gave us an interesting possibility, in that Chaozu was once an emperor of a small nation with Tenshinhan at his side to protect him. Thus, this protective relationship carried on afterwards. However, as I said, this is not canon. The real reason is simply they both went through the same experience of being students under Surusenin. They were both deceived by his evil ways and together broke free, leaving them with a bond that no other could share with them. Having trained and grown together, they continued this bond throughout their lives. Now, I wasn't originally going to talk about this as it is technically filler, but I decided that many fans appreciate this, for lack of better words, filler from the anime, the romantic subplot between Tenshinhan and Lunch. Now, in Dragon Ball Z, our first appearance for Tenshinhan in the anime, Dragon Ball Z that is he and Chaozu live together in the mountains and are training. Blonde Lunch is shown surprising them with a nice little visit, and she decides she's there to cook for them. This is, the kind of gag that was started in the actual manga, which was Lunch, being a little forceful with her feelings on Tenshinhan, where he was very reluctant. However, in the filler here, we're shown that she hasn't given up on Tenshinhan. This first appearance does one more thing. We see that he's been training hard, and when Lunch asks how long he plans on doing this, Chaozu says until he defeats Son Goku. Lunch says, now there's been peace for so long, there's no more need for getting stronger. I like this as in the manga, we can assume he had been training, but this shows he still saw Goku as a rival and wanted to surpass him. Knowing where Toriyama took the story, it also makes sense why he didn't include this type of subplot. Now, finishing up with the whole Lunch and Tenshinhan subplot that is essentially mostly filler, is the moment where we're shown when Goku's fighting Vegeta, that Lunch is in a bar somewhere, and she just gets this premonition that Tenshinhan's dead. She just knows it. And it is a really, really sad scene. Even though he maybe never showed any feelings towards her, it was still sad that she truly did love him. Now, Dragon Ball Super, he is, of course, pure sidelined character, just like sitting there and watching the view. I mean, everybody was. Piccolo was. Piccolo really got to shine mainly where? Probably the Tournament of Power. You might say, well, what about Universe 6, versus 7? In the manga, he does, if you watch, I did my manga versus anime of the story arc. Yeah, he actually does have a decent scene there. The anime version is horrible. Please don't watch the anime version of that story arc where Piccolo is just spending a whole episode trying to charge up. Just that's the whole episode. It is so boring. In the actual manga, he has a pretty decent fight with Frost. But anyway, let's get back to Tenshinhan. Tenshinhan, unfortunately, literally doesn't do anything. He's just watching everything. Then we get to the Tournament of Power. Now, this story arc I'm currently working on with my manga versus anime. It's taking me forever. I'm so sorry, but the next part's coming out very soon. And there is something that we're going to talk about quick. And that is, unlike the Piccolo and Frost, where the manga is way more action-packed and better, this is the reverse. In the manga, Tenshinhan does absolutely nothing. So if you're thinking Tenshinhan, has one last chance to shine in the story arc or in Super, not in the manga. Tenshinhan does literally zilch. He does nothing. Watch the anime, Tenshinhan at least gets to do something. He is one of the first to get eliminated in the anime, but he gets to at least eliminate someone. He gets to do something. So I do feel that the anime gave him his true last hurrah. That is the final time we'll see probably Tenshinhan do something. We even get filler episodes where Goku goes and visits Tenshinhan and Chaozu, and then of course we have Kami-sama doing his little training so that he could be not a perv anymore and try to be more focused. So Tenshinhan gets a lot more scenes in the anime, so that's a cool thing. So if you like Tenshinhan, I recommend watching the Dragon Ball Super anime for that. But that would take us to the end of at least where we're at in the story, and I think any fan should understand that we shouldn't expect Tenshinhan to ever come back and do anything big again. I mean, the Dragon Ball Super arc with the survival arc, that is just one last, just to give everybody a little moment to shine, even Kame-san, but they weren't meant to be whoa, they're back. That's not ever it. Toriyama, as I pointed out in this video, made it perfectly clear that Tenshinhan was done. When was Tenshinhan done? He was done right from the get-go. After Goku and he had their fight in the Tenkaichi Budokai, Tenshinhan gets the win, well-deserved. After that, that was it. Once Goku gets trained by Kami-sama, that's it. There's no way Tenshinhan would ever get back to Goku's level. Goku was turned into an alien by Toriyama. If Goku hadn't been turned into an alien and, that story had been changed, I do feel Tenshinhan would probably have stayed on Goku's level. Yes, I do. So after the Piccolo Daimao arc, let's say 5 years pass, instead of Raditz coming to Earth, we just stay grounded on Earth. That probably would have kept Tenshinhan in the game. Maybe he would have been able to train hard to get back to Piccolo and Goku's level. That being said, I disagree with that too, because when you do get to the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, Goku just makes Tenshinhan look like he was just in the way of Goku and Piccolo's fight. Goku easily pushes him aside, not even going all out, by the way. And then Goku and Piccolo fight happens, and Tenshinhan's just watching, I can't do anything about this. So I do think that's where Toriyama made it clear that that's it. Tenshinhan's a cool new character. Hope you guys like him and all, but that's it. He's not part of the story right now. So. And I know there are fans out there who might be bummed and, they love the character, but you can't be upset if it's what the creator wanted. The creator just didn't intend for Tenshinhan to be more than what that was. That was all he was ever intended to be. I think what makes Tenshinhan a great character is his willingness to give his all, even when the odds are stacked against him. It's honestly a trait that many of the Z Warriors share. He threw his life away against Nappa and almost did again against Cell. When the world was nearly ended, he came to assist Gohan against Buu despite being far outmatched. He's a clear example of doing the right thing even when you can't win. So what do you guys think of Tenshinhan? Are you a fan of the character? Do you wish he had a larger role in the story? Were you bummed that he was kind of shoved aside? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if there's a character you'd like to see a deep dive on, drop a comment below. As always, like, subscribe, and share. Turn notifications on so you never miss a video, and see you soon.